Perhaps the only thing more curious than leaders saying crazy things is when leaders are saying nothing at all, because they are nowhere to be found. I can think of one prominent leader with a history of elongated absences, and another who might be setting a modern record for absentee leadership. So, if you are still alive and able, please pick up the phone and answer today's Geopolitics HelpLINE. What should we make of situations when world leaders go missing? The most prominent of these cases now is Iran's supreme leader, who technically has not gone missing, he never even showed up. Putin has also had long absences at times. Then, in the United States, Mitch McConnell has been absent from the Senate for an extended period. What inferences can we draw from these unexplained absences? Let me give you the high-level takeaway line first, and then we can get into some more nuance. The absence of information is information. Say it with me. The absence of information is information. But the conspiratorial nature of our public discourse tends to take this mantra a bit too far. To provide some more background on the question, after Israel assassinated the Ayatollah in the opening hours of the Iran war, Iran's political power players met for about a week before appointing his son as the new supreme leader. However, you can apparently rule Iran from the shadows, because we still have not seen or heard from him since then, hence my frequent use of arts and crafts B-roll. We have seen Putin with his own share of absences. 10 days in March 2015, at a time when the world was a bit calmer, but conspiracy theories nonetheless swirled about his death. Or Botox. Only one of those remains a possibility. Then there was also a 10-day stint in April of last year, plus 13 days last February. And to stay within the Kremlin for a moment, Russian central banker Elvira Nabiullina went missing just a month ago before resurfacing. Finally, at least at the time that I write this, U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell has been absent from the Senate since early June, with reports of his hospitalization for a health issue. The headline thing to know about how to think about these situations is something known as the Unraveling Principle in game theory. Unraveling's origins date back to a 1970 paper by George Akerlof on used cars. Sellers have private information about the quality of the vehicle, how well it has been maintained, how many accidents it has been in previously, whether it was a lemon coming off of the lot, and so forth. In a world without verifiable information, wait, let's do that like it's a movie trailer. In a world without verifiable information, owners of high-quality used cars never let them go to the market, because buyers are only willing to offer amounts equivalent to the average expected quality of the car. The owner therefore knows that he will get a bad deal for a great car, and so he never puts it up for sale in the first place. This creates a recursive problem, though. Buyers can anticipate that owners of pristine used cars do not put them up for sale. Thus, conditional on observing a car for sale, they will lower their average expected quality of that vehicle, and in turn, shade down their proposal. But this implies that someone with a fairly good quality used car cannot even receive an average offer for it. Thus, that owner also refuses to put the car up for sale. Consequently, you have an unraveling effect. The only cars that come up for sale cover the spread between what a buyer and seller would be willing to trade the car at. A few fun facts about this. 1. Akerlof won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2001 for this paper. 2. The paper had been rejected from various journals before finally getting published because it was wrong, at least according to many peer reviewers. Just something to keep in mind if you are a struggling academic and one of your papers has been rejected. It may eventually win a Nobel Prize. And 3. Akerlof is married to Janet Yellen. What a relationship it is when you win a Nobel Prize and you have had a less successful career than your spouse. Anyway, unraveling gets worse when there is verifiable information. If you can obtain a report that documents the specific quality of the vehicle, then refusal to show that report leads the buyer to believe that it is the worst possible vehicle. This is because an owner of the highest quality used car clearly wants to signal that to a prospective buyer. As a result, the owner of the next highest quality type of car must also want to reveal his private information. That is because the most pristine type would, and so failure to reveal pushes the prospective buyer's average belief about the vehicle lower than the second highest tier. But then, if the best and the second best are revealing, the third best has no incentive to hide the information either. And this filters all the way down. In other words, if you fail to see the verifiable information, what you should infer is the worst possible information. At least with Iran's supreme leader, I think we have a good argument that we are witnessing this effect. Verifiable information regarding his health and mental state is straightforward to deliver. All you would need to do is make a public appearance. The fact that he is not, despite being the supreme leader for months now, tells us that he is in awful shape. I would have to speculate on the details from here, but presumably the initial strike severely injured him to the point that he is not capable of even releasing an audio file of some declaration of life. What is more difficult to say is who in Iran is benefiting from this. It might be the supreme leader trying to save himself from some public embarrassment. Or it might be the IRGC using his last remaining ounces of life to effectively control the government under his name. Call it Weekend at the Ayatollahs. Then again, perhaps I as an American should not cast judgment here. Go look up Edith Wilson if you want a 15-minute distraction involving the most powerful American woman in history. Either way, given the circumstances of wanting to consolidate power as a new leader in an autocracy, the state of your personal welfare would have to be horrific to make you unwilling to reveal it, given how the unraveling principle leads us to suspect the worst anyway. I imagine that many viewers will find this to be good news from an academic standpoint, as there is some scientific validation for what people are already concluding. On the other hand, the remaining cases still have the public trending a bit too far. The conditions necessary for the full unraveling effect are not always met. When there is good reason to not reveal the publicly verifiable information, aside from manipulating public beliefs, then middling types of actors may prefer to withhold the information. For Putin and Nabulina previously, and McConnell currently, maybe they are all merely sick and would rather spend time focusing their energy on recovery and what little work they can do, rather than play to some media story about it. Maybe in the case of the two Russians, they just wanted to take a vacation, which entails not being around for many days at a time. In Putin's case specifically, maybe he really did get Botox. Or maybe he was preoccupied with the threat of a coup, and so he went into hiding. Obviously, there are differences in how bad these alternatives are, but all of them are far away from, "I told you Putin was dead." I also find it interesting when there is speculation that Putin has released pre-recorded meetings during a long period of time when he leaves the public eye. At the risk of pulling back my own curtain, I have been on vacation multiple times since I started this daily streak on February 28th. It is not that hard either. I know the dates are coming up, and so I pre-record some content so that I have something to release while I am preoccupied with other things. All told, I too find it interesting when one of these people disappears for extended periods of time. But absent an extreme case like the Supreme Leader, I am more cautious about what to infer. So the next time that Putin disappears for 10 days, is it possible that there has been a palace coup, and that is why we have not heard from him? Sure. However, that will not be the first place that my mind goes. Meanwhile, the first place that your mind should go to at the end of one of my videos is this fantastic archive of prior Geopolitics HelpLINE videos. Click here to take a look at them. And if you enjoyed today's video, then please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Or maybe you won't see me tomorrow because there has been a Lines on Maps coup. Who knows?